I feel a lot of people just talk negatively about SMG4, so I'm gonna go out there and actually talk positively about the franchise. And one of those positive elements that I enjoy is the villains. There are some really good ones out there, and there are some really bad villains out there today. So today we're going to be talking about all the major villains from arcs and movie. Let's just get started with the worst villain, which, I mean, if you're an SMG4 fan, you basically know who they are. So I'm going to give them I'm pretty sure this isn't a hot take to say that Lawyer Kong is both an insult to Funky Kong and SMG4. First up, the voice. It is very annoying, and not threatening at all. For a good villain, you've got to have someone who's threatening, but also comedic at the same time. Which, you know, this villain fails at both of that, because it is just Funky Kong in a suit. Any sort of threatening nature of the character was immediately lost when they greenlit the DK rap voice. Anyway, I'm not going to talk too long about him, because, you know, everyone hates him, so I'm not going to beat the dead horse anymore. And just move on to the next character. Now, before you invade the comment section with all your pitchforks, I want to let you know I'm ranking Marty's actions, which he doesn't do anything except get Mario to steal the notebook. Now, you see what I'm saying about Marty? He's a joke. And the fact he became the big villain of WOFIT 2023 is probably the worst part of the entire WOFIT. I honestly really liked WOFIT 2023, but I just felt disappointed with Marty. I was holding my breath the whole time, hoping that someone else would come up with it. So that's why you're here, Marty, because you're a joke, and that's basically... That's it. Next villain. And here we have a main villain of the arc that basically does nothing. You could take him out of the arc and it would almost be the same. The Box Club leader is both annoying, unnecessary, and he was killed off for the sake of a joke. That's when you know you failed as a villain. Well done, SMG4. You've made us proud. So we finally reached a villain who isn't completely unlikable or wasted potential, Bob. Now, there isn't really much to say about him. He's not really a villain so much as he's just, well, I guess he's just like a fraud, scam, and basically he cheats his way to the top, which, you know, he's called out many times, and then that's eventually his downfall, which all hyped up in one episode. He's better than all the previous villains, but not really by much. At least he's more likable, and that's saying something. Desti. She's not really a main antagonist or anything, but I thought the list would be incomplete without her, so I put her on here. Anyway, her appearance in If Mario Was in Splatoon 2, which I'm putting on here since, you know, that's her only other appearance in the series, and I thought, again, it would be incomplete without that. She kind of plays a role where she tries to recruit Mario to take down Meggy, which doesn't work, and then I guess she takes a 2-year break until Meggy's boot camp, when she comes in and steals all her weapons. Wow, something villainous. Afterwards, I guess she just waits there, and then she gets defeated pretty easily, and then I guess she does like one more thing where she attempts to take down Meggy and her crew during a Splatfest, but then Meggy isn't there, so she just sees no point in it. And then from that point on, she's just a hero. Good character. I love the character, but I just don't think she's a good villain. She works much better as a hero than a villain, I'll just say that. SMG3 in the YouTube arc is very interesting. On one hand, he plays a main antagonistic role for sure, but then on the other he tries to manipulate Mario into helping him because Susan, Windows 98, killed Greg, Mario's friend, so then he helped him out because he wanted to take down Susan Wojcicka, or whatever her name is. And so after he betrays Mario and throws him into the internet graveyard, he kind of becomes the main villain, but then I guess he doesn't really play much of a big role for the rest of the arc. He does have his big moment, of course, in the rap, and that's obviously the highlight of the arc for me, and him as well. But there's not really much else left to talk about with him, so I guess we'll move on to our next character. Unlike most groups from SMG4, like Tipo Zombies, Anime Cartel, Anti-Crew, and Bandits from Western Spaghetti, I made an exception for the Anime Cartel, because unlike the other three, they actually play a villainous role for the most half of the arc. The larger half, of course. And they are pretty good, in most cases. During illegal operation and save anime, they are really felt as antagonists that are genuinely threatening. But after that, in most of the other episodes of the arc, they are barely felt in their presence. Like for instance, when the SMG4 crew, not the making crew, but the SMG4 crew arrived back from Japan, Swagmaster is there, and he is not threatening in the slightest. They trick him and then they run away. Wow, well done. But Swagmaster is the definite highlight of the group, with him being the funniest and, most threatening. And there's not really much else to say about the group. Let's just move on to the next character on the list. So does anyone remember the SMG4 episode What If? In that episode we see, what if the SMG4 villains won up to that point? And it's a pretty interesting episode. I recommend you checking it out. But we actually get to see a villain win in this movie, being Demonic Goop. Well, yes, they escaped the Demonic Goop. That doesn't mean they won. And yeah, they kind of don't win, as Peach's castle is dragged under the surface by the Demonic Goop, and Peach is also trapped underneath that. They escape, but they don't win, and I like that. That makes the Demonic Goop kind of special. You're probably wondering where this villain is from, and if you are, have you even watched Revelations? This is Melanie from Revelations, before she returns back to her normal state. So this is just Niles possessing Melanie. I think he does a good job as being a threat while they're trying to navigate the God Box and save Melanie. But there are way better SMG Zero variants out there, so I'm just going to move on to the next part of the list. Now here is a villain that you can actually hate, but is still a good villain. Everything the Box Club leader was trying to be, and failed miserably. The Box Club leader was hateable, and he served no purpose to the plot. Francis, however, was the driving force of the later half of the anime arc, and he is a great villain. He's hateable in every way. I mean, I don't know how any way you'd like this man, but he's good. He's a really good villain, and he is pretty evil as well, considering he just wanted an island full of anime girls, which, kind of weird, but I'm not a fan of anime, so I can't really judge. Anyway, his scheme to steal all Inklings, drain them of their ink, and then use that ink to create anime is like a weird one, to say the very least, and they definitely haven't done anything like it, considering, the pen's been destroyed now. Francis, great villain. Let's move on to the next villain. So the God Box, right? It's weird. It's a box. But it is the main power source of SMG Zero's demon form, and it's pretty unique, but not that unique. It's alright. It's not this high because, why wouldn't I put it this high? It is the main driving force of the arc, and well, all of Cosmology. So I think it deserved this placement for alone the impact it has on the two arcs that its appearance has been felt in. So I'm gonna put it here, but that's only on the basis that it has a huge impact on all of Cosmology, and not really any other reason. He doesn't really do much, which is why he's the lowest placed one, aside from Melanie. But I think he's pretty cool, his design's pretty unique, and he just kind of chases them around and then gives up. Nothing really that special to this variant. Although, interesting fact, he is actually voiced by Luke Ludwichigal. I think when he says pathetic, that's Luke saying that, so that's an interesting fact. Well, I'd let you know. Anyway, let's move on to the top 5. I'm sure we'll find some interesting ones here. Western Spaghetti was a weird film, to say the very least, and the twist of One Shot Ren being the villain is kind of unexpected, or not. I guess how you really want to put it. They set up like this group of bandits being the villain, but they very quickly ditched that after they first went to the real world, and then One Shot Ren just kind of became one of them villains that you hate, but is still good at being a villain. You know, a better version of Francis, essentially. And the award for the best SMG Zero variant goes to SMG Zero when he possesses Axel from Genesis arc. Honestly, this one, just because the design alone sells this villain. He's also like so mysterious as well. Why is he building a new universe? What's going on? And that's what I like. This is just a very simple villain, and that's what I like about him, you know. Anyway, let's move on to the not number 1 pick. I don't know why, but they somehow made Mario the best part of WOFIT 2023, and he was the villain? I know, like, they advertise it as Marty, but come on. He does nothing. Mario is everything in this WOFIT. Anyway, there isn't really much to talk about with this Mario. It's just WOFIT shenanigans, but on a grander scale, and I like it. It's like Mario going all out and being like the most hilarious but most threatening villain of all time. I love it. There's not really much else to talk about, besides he just steals the notebook and then they have to take it back through a bunch of youth-made missions. And I like that. I think the WOFIT, it's really good. It's a really unique change of pace for the WOFIT series. I hope they do some more experimental stuff with WOFIT in the future. Now, for the number 1 pick. Sometimes the classics are always the best, and with Waluigi from the Waluigi arc being the best villain, I don't think anyone's gonna argue with this option. I mean, come on, it's Waluigi. What's not to like about him? It's just about him and character development with him. No arc has ever reached the heights of the Waluigi arc, and no arc villain has ever reached the heights of Waluigi. So, you know, it was a pretty obvious pick. I think the T-pose zombies were a great touch, you know, allowed him to have an army to follow him and make him feel more threatening. And as well, his and as well the episode with Mario and Luigi in the Saw, that was pretty terrifying. And yeah, there's not really much to say. He just wants love from everyone, you know. He's been rejected for so long. So I thought, why not just give him the number 1 spot? Anyway, I've been yapping on too long. I think it's time we go. But before ending this video, I wanted to quickly talk about TV adware / mysterious TV guy. He doesn't technically have a canonical name yet. We only know him as having a TV head and messing around with the main cast. Fumbling around with them like they're toys, you know? Great example, he was responsible for all 3 major events this year, and we still know nothing about him except he wants to put on a good show, I guess. I don't know. I have a theory, and I think maybe this thing is SMG4. Not, you know, the SMG4 from the series. Luke Ludwig, the creator of the show. I think this might be him. I have a little suspicion it might, you know, it's because he's not the same person as SMG4. Cosmology proved that. But he could be that, since he's able to manipulate the world and, you know, redesign the characters and everything. So it's entirely possible as a theory. Most of the info from this frickin' video came from the wiki. Thank you, SMG4 wiki. I probably wouldn't have made this video if it wasn't for the wiki having such readily available renders. And also, any song I used in the video will be credited in the description, as well as the start of each segment. With that being said, I'm gonna go, but if this video does well, I might do the same, but for the main cast. Oh, I forgot to say, make sure to like and subscribe.